Hello and welcome to the Dublin Academy of Education podcast with myself, David Lewis. Today, I'm really excited to bring you our Personal Development Club module. What we've decided to do is take the Personal Development Club that I and Chris Lauder, the founder of the school, run for our day school students here and bring it to you guys in podcast form. So anybody who potentially could not attend the club or are outside the school could actually get the benefits that we really believe are going to dramatically change a student's life, both inside of school, outside of school, and when they further go on to college. So this week one here, we're going to talk about and we're going to take you through is our workshop on our notes, which are available for download on our website there, on how to set practical and achievable goals for success. Okay, so Chris, you wouldn't be able to just give us a bit of an introduction into the Personal Development Club and personal development itself?
Absolutely, Dave. So, absolute pleasure to be here back on the podcast. I've missed it certainly a lot since the last time I was on. So, personal development, right? So, a lot of people are probably tuning in here, students wondering, what even is personal development? Well, it's something that myself and Dave, we discovered, I'd say, probably the best part of like 8-9 years ago. And it's something that, without a doubt, changed how I looked at life and changed how I did anything in my life. And it's had a profound impact on it to date. And really, you know, what myself and Dave have done is we kind of looked back and reflected over that period of time, and we said, what were the kind of key things that we learned from this kind of arena, this kind of space of personal development, and how can we kind of boil that down into, you know, a refined format to deliver to students, to help them with their Leaving Cert. So what are the things that we can impart to Leaving Cert students in order to help them get through was without doubt one of the toughest years of their life to date. So this started off as just something for our day school students here at the Academy, but we've had so many people asking us who are not in the day school, you know, what is Personal Development Club about? How do we get involved? And so myself and Dave, you know, listening to that feedback, said, okay, let's kind of broadcast this out there on the podcast, and let's make sure that people can get involved all over Ireland who are doing their Leaving Cert. So, what is personal development? So if you open up the notes there, which you can see, you can download from our website, right? Episode 1 or Module 1 on goal setting. Okay, goal setting is the first module we have here. And on page 2 there, you're going to see a definition for personal development. Okay, it's always very good to start with a definition in anything, because you are probably wondering what even is this personal development stuff that I've been going on about. Well, it is personal development, and you have your pen out. Personal development is a process of continually improving your life skills. So write in the word process and write in the word life skills there. Now let's unpack that. There's quite a bit in that definition. Personal development is a process, right? So first of all, what's a process? Well, a process is a set of actions you take in order to achieve an outcome. So a process is a set of actions you take in order to achieve an outcome, i.e. personal development is something you actively do. You don't just sit back and personally develop. You have to actually go out there, take action, do stuff in order to achieve it, okay? It's also a process of continually improving, right? So continually improving is like meaning that you can't just do it once and hey presto, you've personally developed. It's like going to the gym. If you want to stay fit, you have to keep up the gym. You have to keep up, you know, your personal development routine, right? And it's this continual process of improving your life skills. So what are life skills? Well, life skills, we like to think, are the skills that you don't formally or traditionally learn at school, right? So it's an example of some life skills there are things like goal setting. You know, how do you actually set a goal? How do you actually sit down and put a strategic plan in place to achieve something you want to do? And that's not really something that I learned in school anyway, thinking back in my time there. Other life skills that are really important are things like time management. You know, how do you actually effectively manage your time? And that's something that Leaving Cert students definitely struggle with. I know I did when I did my own Leaving Cert. You know, how do you manage your study time? Is one of the probably number one challenges of anyone facing the Leaving Cert. Other life skills that are really important, things like public speaking. That's something that a lot of people shy away from. I can speak from experience. I always stayed away from public speaking up until I got into college when I had no choice but to do it. Then there's other areas of life skills that are kind of come under the personal development umbrella. Things like leadership skills. You know, leadership skills are unbelievably important, not only on the sports field, but also in the workplace or anywhere for that matter, being able to influence people and get them to work together to achieve an outcome or objective. Other things like habit building. You know, if you want to become a successful Leaving Cert student, you better be sure you've got good habits, not only study habits, but good lifestyle habits, good sleep habits, and good routines that keep you on the course for what is a very tough year. And then other things like managing a healthy lifestyle. So all of these things come under the kind of the personal development umbrella, as I said. So there's a question there on the page, like, why bother doing personal development? Like, what's the kind of point of doing personal development? Well, personal development, the way to look at it is, it's kind of like building yourself a really good set of systems for doing tasks. So being really efficient at doing stuff effectively, and it goes across all areas of your life. For example, like, think of what doing personal development like sharpening an axe before you chop a tree down. If you go and try and chop a tree down with a blunt axe, you could be hitting that tree for days and getting nowhere. Whereas if you were just to take a couple of hours and sharpen that axe, you'll cut down that tree and go back out, you'll cut down that tree in a fraction of the time. So think about personal development as kind of sharpening the axe. It's basically like getting better strategies and skills for performing tasks. So the answer to the question, why do personal development, which you can fill in there, personal development arms you with the strategies, the skills, and most important, the mindset to overcome any of life's kind of challenges. And that key word there is mindset. Personal development is kind of like working on your attitude, fitness. It's like, what do you think of the world and how do you look at problems? And mindset's very, very important when it comes to the Leaving Cert. You know, do you get overwhelmed when you get a lot of work on your plate, or do you have the mentality to kind of break all that work down and approach it methodically and systematically? So the first thing we ask our students to do in the personal development club in module 1 is, see on the bottom of the page there, we ask them just to think quickly, write down, take 30 seconds, just write down 3 life skills you want to get better at. I've listed off a few in the middle of the page there, but list off maybe 3 areas you want to get better at, just to kind of get the juices flowing. So that's the first thing we do, Dave.
Cool, fantastic. So if we actually get into now the goal setting, there's many reasons why myself and Chris have decided that goal setting is the first thing that we want to get at here. But realistically, it's because we actually see students really, really struggle at this. And we know that without a goal, you can't score here. Now, the second that I say goal setting, I know, and I always say this, that students, their barriers go up in their head. There's like negative connotations with goal setting. It kind of seems airy-fairy. So the way we like to think of it is like an outcome. What do we want to happen in a certain area in our life? So like, what is goal setting? If you Google that, there's going to be a serious amount of different ideas on it. But what our idea is basically determining an outcome that you want to happen. So again, it's not really a definition, but it's determining some outcome in an area of your life that you would actually like to happen. Now, it does not have to just be school. It does not have to just be money. It doesn't just have to be in terms of like the gym or in terms of sports. It's absolutely everywhere. If you do not know what you want to happen, you are pretty much definitely not going to hit it. Whereas if you have a goal or you have an outcome, it is far, far more likely that you will go at least get near it. You will at least put things in place for you to go to that. Okay, so what we have down here is that goals can be set in many different categories across your life, and again, not just academically. We really feel that this module, and actually, sorry, this whole club is going to arm you for life. It is life skills, as Chris talked about. But what we would like you to do is pick 3 areas in which you might want to set goals. This does not have to be definite now. Your goal setting, your personal development is a continuous process. It's going to start off not being very good, being honest with you. So what we want to do is at least just get the ball rolling and get some momentum. So pick 3 areas. And again, it doesn't have to be anything specific. The first ones that come into your head. Okay, so some examples we have written down here might be that ones that you might not have thought of is like an attitude. So we have, is any part of your mindset holding you back? Like, are you just saying, I'm just not good at speaking to people I don't know? Am I just not good at running? Am I just not good at maths? Look, that's literally a mindset problem versus an actual physical problem there. The next one is physical. So if you might set an athletic goal for yourself for many different reasons. We have maybe education, because obviously school is a fantastically important part of your life and gives you a platform to go on and do whatever you want to do with your life. Or public service, but literally it can be anywhere. Maybe it's a family goal, maybe it's a social goal. We just want you to write 3 down now, because we are going to base the rest of this workshop off those 3. Okay, now, again, with that in mind, we say exactly like we try to practice as much as we can what we preach. So we have an outcome for today. There's no point in starting any class or any workshop without knowing what we want to get out of it at the end. So we're going to share it to you now on the top of page 4. It says, at the end of today's session, you will have designed your goals and created a practical action step or practical action steps that will allow you to progress towards achieving them. Because, you know, you're going to be all hyped up when we're in here. We need to know what the next step is. We need to know what's the next thing I can do. What's the next domino that I can knock down? Okay? Now we're going to take a little bit of a weird turn, because we're going to teach you how to set goals for something in the future, but we need to build a little bit of momentum. So I need you to think right now of 3 things that you have already done in your life that you are proud of. So any 3 things. Okay, because one of the massive things we've said there a second ago is mindset. People have almost a poor mindset, especially in terms of goal setting. Maybe it's an Irish thing. Maybe people are willing just to knock themselves down and not like actually give themselves credit for their achievements, and then not feel good about it and not develop momentum. So you have done 3 things that you could be proud of in your life. I would like you to write them down there. Anything. That could have been a test that you did in first year. That could have been doing the garden for your mother and your father. That could be going speaking to someone you didn't think you'd speak to. That could be a sporting achievement. I would suggest let's just start off with writing down any 3 things that come to your head. Again, it does not have to be perfect. And when you do that, once you've got them down, ask yourself a couple of more simple questions about those things. Like, why are you proud of them? Like, maybe you didn't know that before now, but what made you proud of doing that thing? What do you think made you take action at that time? Because subconsciously you've actually been setting goals since you're very, very, very young. Okay, so you've actually already been setting these, doing these things we're teaching, and we're just trying to bring it up to the forefront of your life here. So what made you take action on these things? And what did you feel as they were happening? So as you were actually doing it, and once you've completed it, you might have not thought of it as a goal at the time, but what did you feel that encouraged you to write it down right now for you being proud? Okay, so if you choose a few and elaborate, again, it does not have to be perfect. We're just trying to get your mind thinking and trying to give you a little bit of momentum and confidence, showing that you have actually already done these things that we're going to show you, but we just want to bring it to the forefront of your mind.
Brilliant.
Cool. Okay, so Grant, do you want to talk through the pillars?
Absolutely. Okay, so now you've got a sense of what goal setting actually is. It's a really important now to take a bit of a deep dive into like really what is behind a goal, what's behind a good quality goal. A lot of people often set goals that are just very weak, not very well considered, and often are not achieved. And kind of the part of the reason for that is they haven't considered what myself and yourself have kind of coined the 3 pillars of any goal. If you set a goal without these 3 pillars, it's like building a house on sand. It's not going to last very long. Okay, so we've a little saying there, a little quote, which I think was yourself, Dave. It says, a goal set without a clear vision of its outcome, a reason for its importance, and a belief that it's possible is a waste of time. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, you know, if you don't have a reason for setting your goal, if you can't see your goal actually being achieved, if you can't see in your mind what that looks like, and you don't believe it's possible, you're wasting your time. You know, and if you've got these kind of vague goals that don't have those in place, as I said, they're not going to last. Okay, you often hear people say, "Joe, I'd love a bit more money," and that's it. They haven't really thought about, you know, what they see themselves doing if they did have a bit more money, or they don't really know why they want more money, or they don't even really believe that they're actually even capable of getting more money. And often or not, they don't actually do much about it whatsoever. Or sometimes you hear a student say, "You know, I just want to do well in the Leaving Cert," and they don't, and you're like, "Oh, why?" I just do. Or you often hear students say, "I just don't want to do bad in the Leaving Cert." That's actually one that you hear quite a bit as well, and it's just, you know, we'd say to students, okay, well, let's actually frame your kind of Leaving Cert goals a little bit there. Let's have a think about, first of all, why do you want to do well in the Leaving Cert? And really ask yourself, you know, what is the purpose of me doing the Leaving Cert? Is it because I want to do veterinary because I've always loved animals? I just always wanted to work with animals? Is it because, you know, I want to do, you know, my parents proud? You know, they've always really supported me in my education, and they really want me to do well, and I want to do well for them too. Or is it because someone told you were crap at maths and you want to prove them wrong? You know, even just putting some kind of rationale or purpose behind your kind of goals is really, really important. So into the 3 pillars of a goal, right? The first one is a vision, okay? You have to have a bit of a vision for what your goal is going to be, okay? You have to be able to see in your mind, you know, what the goal looks like. in the future? What's the outcome of the goal? So writing in there, vision is seeing in your mind the outcome of your goals in the future. So if you can't see in your mind what it looks like to actually achieve the goal, it's not very compelling. For example, if I use the money example, I was with a bit more money. Like, what does that really mean? Can you really see yourself with a bit more money? You should define that a little bit more. And if you've got a clear vision as to what you want to do, it really helps you sharpen your focus. And that's the next answer to the question: is how does having a vision help you? Well, it sharpens your focus and allows you to be more specific with your goal. Okay, which is really, really important. Goals need to be specific and measurable. It also does a couple of other things. If you don't know what the goal looks like in advance, you can't see it in your mind. How are you going to know when it's achieved if you don't really know what it looks like? So you've got to be able to see it quite clearly. For example, for myself, one of my goals I set was become good at public speaking, something I was kind of terrible at and I always avoided. And I kind of said one day, no, I got to get over this fear and I've got to set a goal to become better at public speaking. And I could always just see myself speaking in public, and I really kind of held on to that. And what it did for me was, by kind of imagining myself doing it over and over again, it kind of started to build a bit of confidence that, geez, I think I can do this because I can see myself visually doing it. What I'd say to a student is, visualize yourself, if your goal is to grade in the Leaving Cert, visualize yourself actually sitting the Leaving Cert. Visualize yourself doing well in an exam. Visualize yourself being calm and collected and not concerned or panicked. Now, yes, things are going to come and throw you in the exam, but just imagine yourself taking a deep breath and not letting it shake your confidence, and just keep going. Imagine yourself as well at the end of the road getting your Leaving Cert results and being happy. And it's really, really important to have that kind of clarity, because having that clarity and that clear vision really helps kind of inspire and motivate you to stay the course. So that's kind of on the vision side of things. See yourself being able to do it. The next kind of pillar of the goal is the why. So a why. And the why, the answer here is the reasons you have for following through with your goals. That's your why. And a why is really, really powerful. A why can really, really push you through any obstacle. Because with the Leaving Cert in particular, it's so hard. You're asked to do so much, study all the time, take in content on a consistent basis, be examined all the way through 6th year, and then face this big exam at the end of it. And unless you've got a kind of compelling reason to kind of want to push yourself, or even just any reason. Some people don't think about the reasons, but if you've just got those reasons, it will help push you through some obstacles. An example of how a why can help, and this is kind of a crude example, but we talk to the students in the Personal Development Club about, if we were to say to you the module 2 of the Personal Development Club next week is going to be on top of the Sugarloaf at 3 in the morning, a lot of the students kind of laugh at you, well, as if I'm going to that, like that's crap, like there's no way I'm going to get up and go to the Sugarloaf at 3 in the morning. Sure, it's going to be it's going to be very cold outside. I'm not sure, I never get up at 3 in the morning anyway, and how am I going to get lift there? The buses don't go at that time, and sure, it wouldn't be worth it. And all they do is they think of all the obstacles in the way of going to the Sugarloaf at 3 in the morning for module 2 of the Personal Development Club. But then we say to them, okay, fair enough. But what if we gave you all €1,000 to turn up on the Sugarloaf at 3 in the morning? Would you reckon they'd go then? And you pretty much get a full, consensus of, yeah, damn right I'd go. And the reason, what's the difference? Is because they've got a compelling reason to go. And suddenly the obstacle of, being cold outside, Jesus, doesn't matter, I'll bring a coat with me. It's far away, Jesus, I'll walk if I have to. Sure, I'll leave it, to midnight and I'll walk down to Wicklow. €1,000, it's a big incentive. And suddenly all the students don't see the obstacles, they see the prize. Okay? And yes, it's a silly example, but it just demonstrates the point that if you've got a good reason to do something, if you've got a reason to push through and face some of the adversity and conflict you're gonna have doing something difficult, like trying to achieve a goal, if you've got that compelling reason, you don't see the obstacles. You go straight past them. You come up with a way around it. And if you have a strong enough reason to do anything, the reasons come first and the answers come second. That's something to write in there on the page. Reasons come first, answers come second. If you have strong enough reasons to do anything, you'll find the answer. And this comes down to something that myself and yourself have talked about, in that, people say, haven't had enough time, or didn't have the right notes, or I didn't have the right teacher, or I didn't have the right X, Y, and Z, and that's why I didn't well in an exam. And the truth is, all of those things are resources. Time, study notes, good teaching or tutoring, they're resources. If you've got a good reason to do well in something, you'll be resourceful. And resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. If you've got enough energy and passion and commitment to do something, you'll find the answers. Not to worry about what resources you do or do not have. You just haven't got the compelling enough reason to be resourceful enough to go and find them. So they're the first two pillars: having a strong vision and having a clear reason why you want to do it. And when I say it, I mean the goal that you have set. Be it that if that's in the Leaving Cert itself, or if that's a fitness goal, or if that's like learning how to play the guitar or piano, whatever it is, it's having the reason to do it and the vision. And finally, the third pillar, and this is essential, it's having a belief that it's possible. Okay, if you set a goal like to walk on the moon, it's and you don't ever believe it's going to happen, you're kind of wasting your time. You have to believe that whatever it is you're trying to achieve is in some way possible. Okay, now I don't mean you have to believe it with certainty that I know I can do this. You just have to believe it. Imagine it like a scales, right? And on one side of the scales, it's yes, I can do it. On the other side of the scales, it's no, I can't do it. The scales just have to be tipped in the yes, I can do it side. Okay, so for the belief to work, you have to believe it's more possible than not possible. Okay, so you got to make sure that you believe. And let me give you an example of the importance of belief, right? If I was to tell you, there's a young couple, they've a 1-year-old child, and the child's learning how to walk, okay, which is one of the many goals for human beings. And the child's trying to walk, and the parents are encouraging it, and it kind of keeps kind of falling over like you see toddlers do, and it happens kind of 5, 6, 7 times. And what would happen if you were to say to that couple, I think little Johnny there, I don't think he's a chance of walking. I think he's just let him crawl, so I don't think the walking thing's for him. They turn around and they probably tell you where to go and say, well, you know what, my child's going to keep trying until he walks. And why do you think that is? Why do you think they have that belief? Because sure, it's all around us. The evidence is everywhere that if you keep trying to learn how to walk, you'll eventually walk. And if you keep trying until, there's your magic formula. So the belief is very important because the belief kind of keeps you going. It's when you fail at something, you go, no, I still can do this. The belief is kind of like the fuel and the engine that keeps things going and ticking on. So so it is on the bottom of the page there. What is most important is you have to believe that you're actually capable of achieving whatever it is you're trying to do. And what's really important to say is that you don't need to know like every step of the journey. Okay, when you're trying to achieve a goal, you don't need to have like every single to-do list item from when you start setting the goal to when you achieve the goal. You just need to know what the next thing is to do. For example, if you're trying to get better at French, you just got your 5th year summer results was a H6, and you need a H4 in French. Like you don't need to know exactly every step to get a H4. What you need to do is you just need to plan the next thing that's going to help you on the journey towards becoming a better French student. And that could literally be like spend the summer going to France and, just do that. And then once you've done that, then you'll know what the next is. The next step is, that could be, getting a French tutor for 6th year. Yeah, and then once you do that, and then you go, oh, I actually know now what the next thing is. I need to, I need to basically get one of the smart students in French to basically give me a grind once a week. So the whole idea is that you don't need to know every single step along the journey towards achieving a goal. It's just knowing what the next thing to do is. So that's really it. The 3 pillars of any goal. It's having a clear vision of what it looks like, being able to see yourself doing it. It's been able to understand why you want it. So the why, why is the goal important to you? And finally, it's having that belief that it's possible and you can achieve it.
Perfect. I really feel it's massively important as well. That something that I probably should have mentioned at the start here will be that it's a goal for you. Very often we see students setting goals, like you said there, and they don't actually have a why behind it, or they set a goal because their parents want them to set it, or their friend has set a similar goal, or potentially they've Googled on the internet top 20 goals for this year. So having that why is so important. We've been throwing a lot of stuff at you here. Again, this is a workshop. This is essentially a grind in goal setting. If you go to page 7 here, everything we have said so far is distilled down into a model that we call the why model. Now, we've repurposed some information from different courses and books we've read and attended over the years, and different podcasts that we've listened to, some of the great minds of today, and we've distilled it down into this one diagram here. Something that we feel if you actually kind of repurpose what you are trying to do at the moment towards this, you're gonna see massive success and massive progress in whatever you're trying to do. So if you have a look at it here, you can see all these different rings. We are going to start from the middle. We're going to start from a why, and that's what Chris said. Having this why is the ultimate core for anything that we are trying to do. And when we actually set a goal, if we work out from the why after that, things will really quickly fall in place. So after you have this why of something you want to do, when you develop your vision, as Chris said, you can see yourself doing it, you then start to hopefully have belief that it's achievable. Then you can actually put it down to a practical small goal, okay? And the fantastic thing about this is all of those steps, everything there can be done sitting in your kitchen or sitting in your bedroom with a piece of paper and a pen. But very often, for some reason, that is the part that people will not do. That is literally your foundation for success in anything. If you have them, you are far more likely to go ahead and do the next steps to go actually achieve whatever you're trying to do. So you have the why, then it's the vision, the belief, the goals. You can then see we've got a little red, we've got a ring going around it there, in broken lines there, and it says fear. Now we have a whole module to do with fear, and we'll talk about how fear is also sometimes just a different word for you're experiencing something else. However, let's just call it fear for now. That is where you actually have to go out of your comfort zone, or you have to leave your kitchen. You actually have to go ahead and take some action. And what can sometimes happen is people have all this sort of stuff, but they can't actually break through that barrier. Okay? If you can break through that barrier, even just a small amount, and take a tiny action step, you have made it further than a vast majority of students that we have seen. Okay, vast majority of people that I actually know, to be honest with you. Okay, so you've got this massive core behind you. You're more likely to take that action step. You're more likely to break through that fear barrier. And you take an action. And as we said, we don't have to know all the actions for it. We just take the next action. And what happens from that? Well, then you extend into your outer ring there. You get the feedback. Okay, and that could be positive or negative. It could be a test result. It could be advice from someone. It could be literally just some sort of reception you get. It obviously depends completely on your goal. It could be a time or something like that. But you get feedback. Okay, and then what you do is you spend your time bouncing in and out between action and feedback, action and feedback, action and feedback. And as you do that, you know, you are readjusting your actions. You are taking better actions. You are taking bigger actions. You are seeing where you're actually making mistakes. And as you bounce in through them, you will then hopefully achieve that ultimate final goal that you've set out to do. Maybe the odd time you might have to go back and reassess your goals and reassess what you're at there. Maybe your why might change when you get other feedbacks. But essentially, once you have built your core of what you would like to do and who you would like to be while you were doing it, you can then bounce in between action and feedback. The mistake we would always see, especially if that goal is not yours, or if you don't have a why, is people, instead of going from the inside out, actually use this model subconsciously from the outside in. They would set potentially a goal, or they would tell one of their friends about a goal, and they would get some feedback, and that might be negative. And straight away they won't even take action. Okay? You cannot actually go from feedback into action, then to goals, and then to this why. That you actually have to start with why. Okay, so we do not want you getting some feedback from someone. You might say, "Oh, I'm thinking of trying to get a H1 in maths." Someone goes, "Nah." You're very, very unlikely to then even go ahead and take that action. You're very likely to be put off anything you're trying to do there. And in fact, once you hit the first roadblock, or once you actually get some feedback, if it is negative, well, then you're actually just going to throw it in the bin because it's not important to you, and it's not actually important to you on deep down on an emotional level, as it would be if you had the why, the belief, the vision, and the goals. Okay, so it's massively important that you are building everything you have from the inside of this model out, and you'll be absolutely surprised at the correlation you will see between this and the success you achieve. Now, as we said, to take the next step here, you need to be able to take the next step. It's all well and good for us just sitting here telling you how to write a goal. You might not even know how to write a goal. So what myself and Chris have developed is on page 8, and there's a couple more pages of it there because you might have multiple goals coming from this, is a goal setting worksheet. And we've distilled all our knowledge that we have in goal setting to try and make something that's applicable to a student and usable, and will actually tell you what you have to do next. So we have it here. First of all, we've got a category of my life. So you pick the category. You to say what your outcome is. So my goal is to blah. Okay, and then we're going to fill this out, and as we fill this out again, it might not be perfect the first time. You might take it, scrumple it up, and go again and go again and go again, but it's a plan, it's a base, it's a foundation for you to go ahead and do whatever you want to do. So next part, vision. You got to say to yourself, how will I know when I've achieved my goal? What can I see, as Chris talked about before? So you got to put that down in writing. You got to be specific with it. You got to say, I can see myself where crossing the finish line. I can see myself taking the test and leaving cert. I can see myself speaking to people in public. After that, then we have why. Okay, so that is that why. That is the thing. That is the core of this entire thing. Why do you want to achieve that goal? Why do you want to actually do this? Okay, so that has to be there. Without that, the rest of this, I think, will fall apart. You can see your belief. So what will help me achieve this goal? Okay, you know, what do I actually have with me? Do I live near a park so I can go for a run? Do I have an office where I can study? Do I stick to a plan quite well? Whatever you think, whatever belief you have that will help you go ahead and achieve this final result, write it down now before it's actually there. Like Chris said, resourcefulness. Okay, so you have so many resources at your disposal. It might be your parents. It might be a friend that's very good at a subject. It might be a friend who has done drama their entire life. I don't know. It's only you for your goal that you can figure out what will actually help you with that. Then you take action. So there's no point in setting this goal without knowing what the action step is. If you can't take that first step, if you don't know what that next thing is, well then the other goal far away in the future it's just too far away for you. You cannot actually. There's no way you're actually going to get to achieving that goal if you don't know what that small practical action step is. So this might be very small. This might be like buying a pair of runners. This might be setting an alarm clock. This might be getting a study planner. This might be going ahead and I don't know, asking your friend for help, setting a time for your teacher to talk to you. Okay, so what is your next step? Because that's the only thing that you can focus on now. You can't focus on something that's in 7 or 8 months' time. Okay, and then you've got to see certain obstacles that could potentially arise, and that could be because of you or because of outside sources. Okay, so you might decide that you're actually quite tired in the morning. You might say to yourself you're tired, or you might say that, oh well, sometimes my house is too noisy to study, or something that may happen there, or potentially my friends are decided that we're actually going out that day, or we're going to the cinema, or we're doing whatever we're doing. Write down any obstacle that you could see harming you here, harming you towards getting that goal, and be fully honest. There's no point in not putting the stuff down there, and there may be more than 3, but let's stick with 3 for now. And say to yourself then in advance, how can I respond to each obstacle? Okay, so maybe the times that I know that my house is going to be a little bit noisy, I'm going to go to the library, I'm going to go to study in school. Okay, maybe when my friends decide that they go out, I know that they like to go out on certain Fridays, I'm only going to go to every second one or every third one, or something along those lines. But there's always some way that you can respond to any event that's actually going to determine the outcome of it. So you got to write that down in advance. And by having it down there in advance, you're not actually responding emotionally to it. You know in your heart and in your soul that, okay, that's what I actually have to do. That's what I said I would do. And there's something about writing all this stuff down on paper which takes it out of your head, that makes it more real, which makes it a creative plan that you have for yourself. And as I said, the first time you do it, you might not do it very well. Do it a second time, do it a third time, literally like anything else. Goal setting is a skill. Getting good at goal setting, or outcome setting as we call it, is literally something you have to do again and again and again, and you will forever be getting better at it, more refined at what works for you. Again, because this is all about you. So there's a number of pages there. I really implore you to give that a shot. Have a cup of coffee, just turn the headphones on, or just get into a quiet place and give it your best go. Okay, perfect.
Right, so the thing about goals is, right, why is it that so many people in January, for example, New Year's resolutions, sit down and they go, this year will be different. I'm going to become X. I'm going to do Y. And about 2 weeks in, they're all totally forgotten about. Why does that happen? Well, it happens because usually goals are set in areas of uncharted territory for people. I.e., goals are set in arenas that they're not used to being in, that requires them to change, requires them to change their behavior on a consistent basis, requires them to do things they're not used to doing. And usually what happens is, with goal setting, with achieving anything new, with kind of personal development in itself, it's kind of like a delayed gratification environment. What I mean by that is, it takes time to see the benefits of it. It's kind of like the compound interest theory. If you have money in the bank and it's at X percent, at 2% interest. Yeah, after a year you only have 2%, but after 50 years it's multiplied by a massive amount of money. And the whole idea is that the longer you do something, the more likely you are to see rewards at the end of it. And at the start of it, you don't see anything. And with personal development or with goal setting, the reason why people quit is they're in uncharted territory, it's not very comfortable, they're not seeing much happen, and they decide, what's the point? They give up. It's kind of like when people go to the gym in January and for 2 weeks they give it socks and then they don't see themselves noticing any difference and they go, sure, it couldn't be arsed, what's the point? So with that in mind, now that you guys have thought about your goals in more detail, you're going to need to have some tools to help you make sure you get through that kind of an early stage period where there's very little happening around you, very little results, very little evidence of any improvement. You're going to need some tools to help you kind of counteract that urge to kind of quit and go back to your old ways. So we've got 6 tools here, which have certainly helped myself and Dave. And the first tool is, and you can write this in, is the word accountability. If you're accountable to somebody, it makes it a lot more motivating to actually stick the course. For example, I used the gym there just a moment ago. If you're looking to get into a new fitness regime, you want to get fit, to help you through the leaving cert, and you decide you're going to start running. Okay, if you were to just go running on your own twice a week, it's very easy to kind of let yourself down and just go, I'm not really arsed going out tonight. It's a bit cold. Whereas if you have a running buddy, and you're gonna meet them in the park at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Fridays, and you say to each other, no, we're going to meet those 2 days at that time, both of you are now accountable to each other to get there, and you are a lot less likely to not turn up because you're going to let that person down. Same goes with studying. If you've got a study buddy or whatever, if you're accountable to someone else, you're more likely to stay the course. So that's the first one. I think that's one of the most powerful tools for staying the course on kind of going through uncharted territory to achieve a goal or an outcome. The next one is something you alluded to, Dave, in the goal setting worksheet. And you can write this in, it's to record and track your goals. So write them down. So have yourself a little handwritten diary. Write down your goals. Never store your goals in your head. The worst place for your goals is just to be sitting up in your head. You got to write them down, and by writing them down, again, you're even building that bit of accountability to yourself because it's now on a piece of paper. And tracking your goals is very, very important. Even your little wins. Let's say you have a day and one of your goals was to get out of bed at 6:30 or 7:30, and you usually sleep in till 8:15. One of your goals was to get up early. Write that down when you get up. Got out of bed, done, tick. Got out of bed on time. Even the little wins. What you want to do is you want to record all these little wins that you're getting, and it will show yourself that, hang on a sec, I actually am making progress here. And what you do is you start to build up a little chain of wins. Like, for example, one of the things we talk about in the next module is talking about the importance of making your bed. As soon as you get up in the morning, make your bed. Why do you do that? The reason you make your bed is not just to make the bed, but it's to get an early win. It's to get something done. It's to get a task complete. Because if you start the day by achieving a task, first of all, if you set your alarm, you get up on time, that's a win. But also if you make your bed, that's another win. And suddenly start building this chain of events. So I'm writing that stuff down, recording it, will build momentum and will build motivation. Other thing, the third tool we say here is surround yourself with positive inputs. Okay, so write that in. And what we mean there is surround yourself in an environment that supports the achievement of your goal. So if you're trying to achieve something academically, you're trying to get a H1 in physics, surround yourself with the people who also want to do that, or people who are already doing that, and just be around them. Don't surround yourself with people who don't care about physics and don't really give a damn what they get in physics or the leaving cert. Always surround yourself with people who want to do the same thing you want to do. So you rise to meet their standards, not surround yourself with people who are the opposite. So you lower yourself to meet theirs. Okay. The next thing is setting timelines for completion of your goals. So, for example, if I was to break this down into just a day, if you are planning to do a piece of work for your leaving cert, I don't know what it is, you're writing an essay, give yourself a time limit to write that essay, 1 hour, whatever it is, because you'd be surprised. Time limits are very, very motivating because our work, they say, our tasks expand to whatever time frame we give them. So if you give yourself an hour to do something, you'd be surprised. You'll get that done in an hour or close to. It's like you often see, when a teacher says, okay, essay due next Thursday, but you can hand it up to me before then if you like. What do most students do? They wait until 8:59 on the Thursday. They're still finishing off the essay to hand it in at 9 o'clock in the morning. So our task is bound to the timelines that we give them. So make sure you give timeline. The fifth tool, okay, and this is a really powerful one, and this is something I alluded to earlier, but it's getting a mentor, right? So it's, if you want to achieve something, if you want to achieve a great leaving cert, you can do that by also getting somebody who's done a great leaving cert and ask them how they did it. What were their tricks? For example, on the last podcast that you did, Dave, you had a guy called Will Robbins in, and this guy did phenomenally well in his leaving cert. And a big part of that, he said, was the personal development techniques that he kind of taught himself by immersing himself in the world of it. And he's one of the most impressive people I've ever, not only student, but people I've ever met in my whole life. And if I was going back to do my own leaving cert and I knew this guy or knew of him, I would certainly have reached out to him and said, what did you do to do well in your leaving cert? What were the tricks you did? And if anyone here listening, go watch the podcast. It's unbelievable. It's the best podcast I'd say we've ever done. Guy is just a fountain of knowledge. And so someone like that could be a mentor, someone who's done what you want to do, because success leaves clues. People are successful in anything. They obviously did something to get there. They have systems that got them there. And you can copy and paste those systems. It's like looking at a recipe of a cake. If you have the recipe, anyone can make the cake if they put the ingredients in the right order. So getting a mentor is something that can really help you do that. It's a great tool for staying on track to help you achieve your goal. And finally, and this is something we'll take a deep dive into later on in the series of personal development, but it's building strong habits, positive habits, not negative ones, but positive ones. So the leaving cert, as I keep saying, it's a very difficult, set of exams that requires a lot of preparation, energy, commitment. And in order to do that, you need to have your own system of habits that are positive. That, for example, getting up early, not sleeping in all the time, or even just getting a good night's sleep. That's a very important habit. It's being in the habit of studying regularly, and also having the habit of not studying and not overdoing it. And, getting some free time to hang out with your friends, to play sport and unwind and let off some steam. So those positive habits we'll leave for a later episode, but they're unbelievably important and a great tool to make you stay the course. Okay, so last page here we're on, it's the homework, right? So homework's simple. You've got the notes, you can print them off. Fill out, number one here is fill out your goal setting worksheet. We gave you 3 in the set of notes. Print out as many as you like, and practice filling out goals. And not just the goal, fill out everything. Fill out the action you're going to take. Fill out the why. Fill out the belief that you have. What are the obstacles you're going to face, and how are you going to overcome them? If you have all of those elements in your goal, it's going to make it a hell of a lot better, a hell of a lot stronger, a hell of a lot more likely that you're going to achieve it. So practice doing that. And secondly, we'll also give you a vision board, which is just a very, very simple concept whereby you can print this off as well. But a vision board is something that you put up in a very obvious place in your life. So that could be in your bedroom, on your wardrobe, or whatever. Okay? And on that vision board, go onto the internet, go onto Google, and print off pictures that relate to your vision. So what do you see yourself doing? That could be whatever it is, whatever you're into. That, as I said, if you want to become a vet, put a picture of a vet up there. Something to remind you when you wake up every day, geez, I can see myself being a vet, or whatever else it is. But get as many different pictures and put that on your vision board. And the reason is because if you look at that every single day, it's going to remind you of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that's really it. And there was a nice little take-home message there from one of my all-time heroes, Tony Robbins. And it says, setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. And that's really the crux of goal setting. It's kind of thinking about what you want to do, why it's important, and putting a plan in place to turn what is invisible into something that actually exists and that's actually in your life. So yeah, there we go.
Fantastic. So there you have it. Podcast number 1 on the Personal Development Club. Workshop 1 done. It says here, there was homework, Chris alluded to it. Do not be the person that says that they will go ahead and do that later. That is crucially important. Not doing that homework is what's gotten you to the point you are right now. You've put a lot of work into this. You've listened to it. You've got some good ideas. Just take that next step. Just that one little step to get yourself going. Okay, cool. So, just to summarise, 1 of 5, how to set practical and achievable goals for success. We will, as Chris said, take a deep dive next week the next podcast into the how to develop a morning routine of a Navy SEAL. But also tune in to listen to me and Chris have a bit more of a chat about how we set goals and ask each other a couple of questions on it as well. Okay, thanks very much.